Okay, good morning, everyone. We are live, and we're a little bit late, but technical problems technical problems are quite normal when working online. So I hope you can all hear me well. If you're there, it seems to have started live. Okay, right. So good morning. My name is Sean Dent, and I'm here today to have a chat with Sandra, and we're going to talk about her experiences. So Sandra and I, we've met on LinkedIn and been speaking for a few months now, or about 6 months actually, and we've talked a lot about moving abroad, about learning a new language, working in real estate in Spain, and when we spoke, I thought she had a really interesting story. So after some convincing, she's agreed to come on and share her story with me today and with everyone. So please, let's not waste any time. Let's get her on. Okay. Hello,
Hi,
Sandra.
Sean. Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Good
So,
morning.
I just gave a little bit of a brief introduction to how we've met on LinkedIn and how we've had a few chats about your experiences, and I thought that was interesting and invited you on to share it with everyone. So, Sandra, how would you could you tell us a little bit about without giving away all of the secrets in one go? Can you tell us a little bit about your story and how we've come here today?
Yeah, well, first of all, super nice being here today. Been looking forward to this, and of course, been a bit nervous, as you know. This is my first time doing a live, so I'm super excited. And well, we got in touch via LinkedIn, and we've been speaking for a while, back and forth. And you asked if I was open to do this, and I thought it might be an interesting experience doing this together with you today. And I've been here in Spain now for 8 years plus, and working as a real estate agent for Scandia Mäklarna. And Scandia Mäklarna is one of the biggest real estate agencies back home in Sweden. We have more than 100 offices in Sweden, Spain, and Portugal. And here in Spain, we have actually more than 30 years of experience in real estate transactions. So that is more or less short my story. Um, yeah,
Okay, well that's the story of Skanda. Let me make sure I pronounce it correctly. Now you just said
yeah,
Skanda.
Swedish.
Say it again for
Scandia
me.
Mäklarna.
Scandia Maclina, because
Yeah,
I've just been reading it for 6 months. So I've not actually said it out loud.
yeah, it's a bit
So
tricky.
Scanda Maclina. So that's the story of a little bit about the company and a bit about the details. But what about you personally? So you said, how many years have you been working in real estate now?
Well, it's more than 1.5 year, about 2 years now, with two
But
different Swedish companies.
yeah,
But it started when I was back home in Sweden. It was winter, it was cold, it was dark, and I wanted to do something new. And I had a dream of moving abroad to Spain. And it was pretty natural to me because we had a family house in Costa Blanca when I grew up. So we spent a lot of time in Spain. So that dream was, always with me in some way. Many of my family members used to speak about moving abroad to Spain. And for different reasons, they decided not to do that. So naturally, that dream, was following me growing up. So it was winter, and I was so sick and tired of the weather, of the Swedish climate, and I was feeling Spain. And I decided that within 1 year, I will move to Spain, and I would work within the real estate. And within 1 year, I sold everything back home in Sweden, and I booked one way ticket to Spain. And then I came down here, and I just knew that I will never move back to Sweden again. It was a gut feeling that I had. um, a lot of people didn't believe me, that they thought yeah, maybe she will go for 2 3 months, try it out, and then she will move back home to Sweden. But that was not the case. I was so sure that I'm moving and I will never move back to Sweden. And today, actually, my whole family is living here. My parents, my siblings, with their spouses and kids. So, yeah, it was really a dream coming true for me.
Yeah, and when we spoke, like it's interesting because I think we've got almost similar timelines in some respects. Because I think we're without revealing our ages on here, we're about the same age, and about the same age. I went away and did the same thing of like I'm going to go. I wasn't quite as focused on it, but I left my country and went off. But I did do what most people do actually. I've come back. I found for me living abroad is great and I love it, changed my life and everything, but
Mm,
it's not it wasn't there wasn't one place necessarily that drew me and then I stayed there. Whereas for you, you were right when you
yeah,
in your gut decision was right. Yeah, like you
yeah.
that's turned out very well for you. So I think a lot of people do eventually go back. A lot of people who go abroad go away, have an experience, and go back. So what do you think was different about Spain for you, or why do you maybe why yeah what I guess the
I
question is
think
yeah why do
it
you stay
was
there?
just, yeah. Well, I think, like I told you, it was a gut feeling that I had. It was a super clear vision and gut feeling that I would go to Spain and not come back. It is hard to explain, but for me, it was clear. It was no question about it. Even though I got questioned from my environment, like, are you really sure about this? What's your plan? What you gonna do? I don't think that you will last. I think that you will be back within a couple of months. But for me, it was a clear vision that I will go and I will never move back to Sweden. I mean, of course, I don't know what will happen in the future. Maybe you will see me back home in Sweden in a couple of years ahead. But for now, it really feels that I'm at home. And I met some people that have had the same clear vision as me, that they will move to Spain or some other countries. But I think that generally people are unsure and they try out different places. They gather some experience and then they decide if they want to continue living abroad or going back. Or for some people that go back and forth. I mean, working in the real estate, I meet a lot of people, and most people want a second home, so they have the choice, the option to be in two countries. But for me, it was super clear vision. How was it for you? Did you went to try it out and then you felt this was not for me, or?
Well, I had more of a it was more of a I went from one place to another trying different things and then I did kind of go with my gut as well. I had this idea that I wanted to go to the Netherlands
Yeah.
because I went there and I really liked the language. And then I
Mm,
started learning about the country and I thought I want to go and live there. So I went and lived and worked there for a few months. And then this is when I was 25 and I decided now I want to spend the summer in a hot country because yeah, the Netherlands in like this time of year is it's not quite as bad as maybe as Sweden in winter, but it
yeah.
was cold and snowy and
Yeah.
wet. And I said, I'm going to work in the summer in a hot country, and I
Mm,
went to Italy by chance. I actually ended up going back to the Netherlands for a while and realizing no, Italy is the place. That's where I need to be.
yeah.
Yeah, and then it was actually there wasn't any negative reason or reason for leaving Italy specifically, except that during the pandemic, I spent most of my life became this. Yeah,
Mm,
I went from working, going around, working in the real world to spending most of my time online. And
mm,
so, yeah, when you're working online, you don't need to be quite so physically located in one place.
mm.
So that's the only reason why I left there
Yeah.
specifically. I mean, I haven't really left. I speak to Italians every day. I study Italian. I use Italian more now in some
Yeah.
ways than I did when I lived there. So yeah, that's a bit of a strange situation. Yeah,
Yeah.
for me, so yeah, that's that. So that's again, I think maybe some people have had maybe a similar, more similar experience to me in that
Yeah,
sense. People who have moved abroad, they've not been quite so clear and they've moved around. So,
yeah.
what do you have any advice for clients when you meet them if they or maybe clients or just colleagues or people in general
Mm,
who are thinking about moving abroad, if they don't have
mm,
that strong gut feeling that you had,
mm.
what would you say to them? What would be your advice from your
I
experience?
mean, everything starts with a thought or like a dream. A lot of people have dreams about, moving abroad or buying something abroad, and talk to people. I mean, do your research. There are a lot of people that have done this before. Either if you're gonna, just spend some time abroad or moving permanently. There are a lot of people, especially nowadays. I mean, it was a different story 8 to 10 years ago. It was not that common that people would leave Sweden to live abroad. But today it is more common. I mean, we have a lot of Swedes living here permanently, and Swedish schools and Swedish companies. So it is like a small Swedish community here. Not only for Swedes, I mean, a lot of nationalities. Here in Costa del Sol, we have more than 150 different nationalities living
Hmm.
and investing in the real estate. So it's quite dynamic, and different cultures and different nationalities. So my first advice would be to speak to people who have done it, or already located in that area that you're interested in. I think that is the most natural way of doing it as well, like researching, talking to people. Within the real estate sector, we speak to a lot of people who have dreams about buying something or moving. And so yeah, I would say that it's my first and best recommendation, to speak to people and do your research.
Okay, so you touched a little bit on there about, well, in some ways we can come to the. I want to ask you about the Costa del Sol specifically and about the real estate specifically
Mm,
in a little bit later on. I want to talk a bit more about you and your personal experience first. But one of the things that makes, I mean, I mentioned to you last time we spoke that I spent January last year in just down the road in Estepona.
yeah,
So I spent the month there. I got a feel for what it's like there. I understand what you mean. It's a very it's like a melting pot. It's a mixture of, you know, there's like lots of different communities having a Spanish life.
yeah,
If that makes sense, that's how I
yeah,
would describe
yeah.
it. You know,
I think that was a very
yeah,
good description.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
That's how it felt to me. And so, but that's a little bit that's well, that's quite different again from my experience because I moved to like a small Italian town where no one spoke English and we were like the English community. Me and my colleagues, we were the English speaking community, and we were very international in ourselves because we
Yeah.
weren't all British. But so that's a different kind of experience again. So I'm thinking here about the moving to a place with the language, and I think that holds a lot of people back. They're concerned about integrating into
Mm,
a place. They're concerned about getting around and doing things. But I know in
mm.
your case, that's perhaps you have a different problem from most people because you do speak many different languages, and that's you weren't starting from that same place of only speaking one language, for example. So
Yeah.
how did you find that, like integrating into Spain and getting into that life when you first moved there?
I mean, my goal was to integrate myself in the Spanish culture and system, learning the language, feeling like a Spanish native, or local. That was my goal. But I started in a company, a Swedish company, located in the city Fuengirola. And why I chose Fuengirola is because when I was doing my research, because one important thing is I've never been to Costa del Sol before deciding to move down here. So I didn't know anything about the area. So I was mainly doing my research via Google and Facebook groups. And then I found out that here in this city we have a Swedish school, we have Swedish shops, we have Swedish companies, and that felt safe for me to do, to take this, leap of faith and just book one ticket and sell everything and go. So I started in a Swedish company, and naturally, you speak Swedish because all of your colleagues are Swedes, and you speak to Swedish clients back home in Sweden. So my vision of learning the Spanish language, I really fast understood that it will take time. I'm an immigrant here in Spain, and I need to get to know some locals to learn the language. Um, I did get to know two of my Swedish colleagues actually. One was from Chile, and one was born and raised here in Spain. So both, were Spanish native speaking, and one of these friends had a kid as well. She was about 3 years, 4 years old back then, and I love kids and I love being social. So for me, it was super natural to connect with her, and she only spoke Spanish. So
Mm.
my first year in Spain, I was learning Spanish mainly from a 3, 4 year old girl because that was my level of language, of communication.
Mm.
And of course, I learned some from my friends as well, but we were mainly speaking Swedish because that was more natural for us to keep the conversations, flowing.
Mm.
But I quickly understood that learning a new language and integrating to a new country is not that easy when you have your Swedish community. And this is something that we often discuss here amongst the Swedish community, that it is not easy. You need to you need to make the difference yourself. If you don't
Mm.
put yourself out there, then it's hard to learn the language. But today, 8 years later, I understand when Spanish speak to me. Sometimes I need to ask them to slow down because they speak very fast. Um, I still speak like an immigrant. I mean, you can hear I'm an
Mm.
immigrant speaking Spanish, but I manage. I can do whatever I have need to do, going to the town hall, or wherever appointments and errands I have, I can manage. But of course, it takes some mental energy to
Mm.
sometimes think about the grammar, or sometimes I do not find a word. But yeah, I had a clear vision about that, a goal, but I realized it's not that easy immigrating to a new country.
So it's a really interesting. That's a really interesting observation because again, I've had that exact same experience where you're. Well, I mean, I think learning, having the opportunity to learn from a child is probably really helped because
Yeah.
I didn't have that, but I did have my community of English speaking colleagues, and I had to work in English. So I
Mm.
found very quickly you get to a level, and that level for me was how to order pizza, how to order coffee,
Yeah.
and then it's really hard to go beyond that level.
Yeah.
Um, but it's interesting to bring this to staying on the language thing, but to bring it to English because you said you speak Spanish like an immigrant, but I don't really think that's how you're speaking English. That's not how I would characterize it. I mean,
No, I
obviously,
mean,
no. I think
oh,
everyone listening to this can obviously hear. Okay, maybe Sandra's not a native English speaker, but they can hear that this is not. This is natural for you. You're speaking
mm,
English in a very natural way, but
mm.
you haven't lived in an English speaking country. Yeah, so I'm guess so. So how do you reconcile that then? How does that make sense for you? How have you basically how do you use English at work? I'm guessing that's how you've got to this level. How does it work for you?
Well, the thing is, I mean, I've always been interested in languages, and that's been very natural for me because I'm not native Swedish. I'm born and raised in Sweden, but my native language is Aramean and Arabic, and then Swedish, of course, because I was born and raised in Sweden. And in school, I had English lessons and some Spanish lessons as well. So, I mean, I was already growing up, with 5 different languages. And as I told you before, we had a family house in Spain. So I used to spend my vacations down in Spain. So languages have always been something, how I communicate and how I manage in this world, with different communities, with different countries. And but of course my English has improved since I came to Spain 8 years ago, because when I couldn't communicate in Spanish, I had to use English, in hope that the Spanish speaking person would understand me. So yeah, and I've been
That's very
working.
optimistic.
Yeah,
Very
exactly. You
optimistic. Yeah.
hope that, like, okay, they will not understand Swedish, but maybe if I speak English, it would make more sense to them. I mean, it's like a survival mode, because sometimes you are in a tricky situation and you cannot express yourself, or you do not understand, and then you like switch to English, because for me it feels natural that hopefully they will understand me better. But yeah, of course, my English have improved since I moved down here, because I've used it a lot. Working in real estate, I do work with English a lot, of course. But in my previous companies as well, I was working for an international finance and investing company. We had over 20 offices, globally. So that helped a lot as well with improving my English. Like, naturally, I needed to communicate with people from all over the world. So yeah, but I think, naturally it's because I'm brought up with 5 different languages. In Sweden, a lot of Swedes speaks good English. You know, watching American movies on TV, they are, it's translated, written in Swedish, but the speaking language is the original, which is English or American. So I think that helps a lot, because that is a difference between Spain, for example, where they do. I do not know the sweet English word for this. Maybe you can help me,
It's
Sean.
it's dubbed. Everything
Yeah,
is dubbed. Yeah, they put the
exactly.
audio, they put the Spanish audio over the English audio instead of just having subtitles.
Exactly. And that, I think, makes a huge difference learning other languages.
It's the same thing in Italy, and in fact, I used to find it was interesting. Some clients would they would not know how certain celebrities actually sounded,
Yeah.
which is strange because they would talk about them. They would say, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen this film with this actor or this person. There's really, I really like this person or this footballer." And I would say, I asked someone, do you know what David Beckham sounds like in English? And when I showed him, they were surprised because David Beckham has a very high pitched voice, and
Yeah.
they couldn't believe. What do you mean? I couldn't believe that they could be a fan of someone and not know what they sounded like in their.
Yeah. That
It's
is
yeah, yeah. It makes a
super
difference. It makes a
interesting.
big
Yeah. Super
difference.
interesting perspective about how it is for different countries. And yeah.
So I want to ask you one more question, but I'm going to start steering this. I have more questions, but one more question about language, but steering it towards real estate. But before I do that, I have a message for the people watching, because I can see the statistics. I know we have more people watching here than previously, but we have one of the quietest comment sections. Well, there's zero comments. We have zero comments. So
Okay.
if anyone watching this has a question or anything they want to ask or any just words of encouragement, please feel free to leave a comment. We can respond to them.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead, please.
yeah, and I have one more question about. It's connected to language, but it's connected to real estate as well this time. So more specifically, I imagine that some people who watch this would be watching this because they have this idea, perhaps, that they see your story or they hear what you've done and think, I might want to try that, or
Mm.
they want to give it a try, and they're a bit scared. One thing that comes up often is the language.
Mm.
So obviously, if you're going to move to a very small place, you need to learn that language. But if you're going
Mm.
to move somewhere like the Costa del Sol, yeah, you can live and work in English to a certain extent. So
Yeah.
what would you say to someone though whose English is not quite good enough yet, or is worried about their English? Should they stay at home and improve, or should they take the leap of faith that you did and go for it and work it out on the way? What do you think?
Well, good question. I mean, I would say take a leap of faith, but please educate yourself. I mean, if you have ambitions, then of course set up a plan. I mean, improve your language skills. It's always helpful, and you can do better results. You can connect with more people, and it's always, you feel good about yourself improving your skills. So I would say go with your gut feeling, but educate yourself, practice, take lessons. I mean, I even took some private Spanish lessons. Was it last summer or the summer before? With a private teacher, just, to improve my grammar. And so I would really recommend that, definitely. I've thought about taking lessons in business English just to improve myself, even though I have a quite good level of English. But like I told you, you can always improve, and it is nice improving. You feel good about yourself, and you get better results, and you can communicate better, and adding more flow, expressing yourself.
Yeah, I can't say too much to this because obviously I'm very biased. I obviously think it's a good idea for people to improve the languages, but I would also perhaps you would agree with this statement though. I also think lots of people focus a bit too much on the language, as in they think they need to, like, they assess their language abilities by some kind of standard of like
Yeah,
perfect English, perfect
yeah,
Spanish, when in reality I think it helps much more to like you just mentioned, business English. Okay,
mm,
but even that's a broad topic. But what business English would help you improve in your current job? Maybe there's a
yeah,
specific area, specific skill you need to improve on.
exactly.
This is how people, fortunately now, because now everyone the English the language learning industry is kind of moving online.
Mm,
You have this opportunity. You can go on and practice very specific things, whereas before you had to sit in a classroom with a
mm,
textbook with a group of people who weren't necessarily the same as you, but with the same goals. But I think you're
exactly.
absolutely right. Yeah, you're
No,
absolutely
no, I
right. People
totally
need
agree
to.
with you. And this is something that helped me a lot because when I started in real estate, I mean, first of all, it was since I became a real estate agent here in Spain and not back home in Sweden. I mean, just talking real estate in Swedish was a challenge for me because I was not used to talk about those kind of subjects. So I had to learn to speak real estate in Swedish, Spanish, and English because there are, different expressions, there are different terms talking real estate. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend anybody, not just within the real estate sector, whatever profession you have, you can always improve your language skills, within your niche.
So let's move more onto the real estate side of things then. So we've sort of talked around it quite a bit, but
Mm,
I mean, you mentioned that you went to Spain, or you came to Spain 8 years ago with this plan, and part of the plan was you're going to work in real estate, but it didn't happen overnight. Like all good dreams, all good things take time anyway. So how did like how did you go from, because also you weren't working in real estate before you left. That's right, isn't it? But just on what you just said, you said
yeah, correct.
Swedish real estate was a mystery to you to start with.
Yeah.
So how did you tell us a bit about that journey from immigrants in Spain to
Yeah,
now working in the real estate sector there?
like I told you earlier, I mean, I had a clear vision and a strong gut feeling that I will move to Spain and never move back to Sweden. And one aspect of that gut feeling and vision was that I will become a real estate agent here in Costa del Sol. And I was super like focused on that vision and on that goal. But as soon as I came to Spain and started working for the first Swedish company here, I was so, I don't know how to express this, but it was like I was so carried away with living like in paradise for me. That was my, that was my, you know, experience. My first year, it was like I was on a long honeymoon with myself and the world, because the
You're just
climate
on
was
you're just
amazing.
on the clouds. Yeah, just floating
Yeah,
along on the
yeah,
clouds.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I forgot about real estate. I mean, I had a goal that I would, you know, buy a property here and, you know, build a future life in Spain. But the idea or the dream about becoming a real estate agent, it was like it disappeared. You know, I was so, I was so taken by the culture here, getting to know people, and, you know, during my first year, a lot of my friends and family came to visit. So every time somebody was visiting me, it was, I was feeling like I was on vacation, you know, because I
Mm.
was, we were going out to the beach and the pool and out to dine and explore different areas around here. So um yeah, you forgot, I forgot about that dream and that idea, and I just continued with like everyday life and jumping on, well, for my first company, then I took 6 months off just to extend my vacation with
Okay.
my partner. So we were just doing nothing, traveling around Spain and even Portugal and just exploring and enjoying life. And then we started at Danish company, with a Swedish department. And then again, I was into the, you know, Scandinavian community, not thinking about real estate. And then I got an opportunity to work for a global finance and investment company, not thinking about real estate. And when I quit that company to again take a vacation, a long term vacation, I was off for 1.5 year, just enjoying life here in Costa del Sol. One of my former employees' wife asked me like, okay, what's your plan now when you quit your job, and are you open to talk about the future? And I was like, whoa, I'm not open to next move within my career, or I'm not thinking about what I will do next. My main goal is to be, you know, on a long term vacation. And this woman, she had a Swedish real estate agency here in Fuengirola, and she knew me because her husband was working with us. And she had a position for me, and I told her like, I'm grateful for this opportunity. I understand it's a, maybe it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, but I'm not ready to work at the moment. I just want to relax and, you know, take it easy. And then my parents decided to move down and buy something here. So naturally for me, I contacted her to help us, you know, find a
Mm.
property for them. And being around on viewings and supporting my family and, you know, looking at the market and thinking about the opportunity that she gave me, I was like, yeah, maybe. I don't know. And then I was on a phone call with a friend of mine that used to live here and work with me, and she moved to Dubai. And we were on the phone just catching up, and she said, "Yeah, I was I had a fortune, what do you call it, fortune telling? Is
Fortune
it,
telling. Yeah.
yeah, when you do the fortune telling?" And she said, yeah, this fortune lady, she told me, I can see you in Spain, you were having a good life, and you were dancing around with a girl, and you were laughing, and you were just living your life. And she thought of me and like, yeah, that's Sandra. And then she said, this fortune lady, she said, yeah, tell Sandra that she will be an amazing real estate agent. And my friend told me this, and I was like, what? Me, real estate agent? This was before I got this position, you know, the offer about becoming a real estate agent. And then I think I started to like, wait a minute, I had a very strict vision and gut feeling about me moving to Spain and never moving back to Sweden. And I had a very clear vision about becoming a real estate agent, and I have not done it yet. And then this opportunity came, but I was not ready to hop on yet, because I wanted to be, on my long-term vacation. And then when my parents then were looking for a property, it came supernatural, like, wow, this is what I've been preparing myself for with all former working positions that I've had, my personality, my interest, and it like all came together. And here I am today, you know, working as a real estate agent. So that fortune telling lady, she had a message for me, and I was so triggered, and I found it so odd that like what is she saying, but yeah, she saw something that I had forgot about, and all my paths led me to moving it to Spain and becoming a real estate agent. Took some time, but yeah, here I am.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy. You should probably be having this conversation with my girlfriend, because she would be sitting here. Uh, she would be loving all of that. She would be very
Yeah,
excited about all of that, and she would say clearly, "Look, it was obviously destiny. That was.
yeah,
I'm more of the. Maybe we should have planned something,
yeah,
side of things. But at the same time, that's. It does sound like it's many things have come together over time. Yeah. So this
yeah,
wasn't, although you didn't plan out each stage, so to speak, Sandra. You were working on it for many years. Would that be a
yeah,
fair way to put it? You were, as you say,
yeah.
you were
In some
preparing it.
aspects, I were
Yeah.
working for it, and in some aspects, it was working for me. Let's say we put it that
Yeah.
way. So
So now you've been. So you said it's almost 2 years you've been working full time in
yeah,
real
one
estate.
and
Is
a
that
half.
right?
Yeah, almost 2 years. Yeah,
So what? Um, it's really interesting that as well, that comment you previously made about how you've had to kind of learn, uh, almost like learning it in three languages. Yeah, because you've been learning it in, obviously learning the Spanish, what you
yeah,
need to know about the
yeah,
Spanish markets, in English, in Spanish, what you need to know in English to convey that to an international audience, and then obviously then relearning it in Swedish, which is the most native language of those languages for you, to put it that way. So what would you say has been the, some of the biggest things that you've learned about real estate, specifically for your region, or just about the industry in general? What have been the biggest lessons,
oof,
for you personally, not just
yeah,
about in general, but for you personally? What jumps out to you?
oof. That is a super good question. So, what have been the biggest personal? Oh, sorry. Can you hear that?
It's been happening a few times, but that's the
Somebody's
getting.
making
Yeah,
renovations. So sorry for
it's
that.
that's okay. They're getting more excited now. We've heard them a few times, but it'll be okay.
Yeah. So, the biggest lessons, my biggest personal lesson within real estate on Costa del Sol is, oof, I would say, how dynamic the market is. I mean, since Costa del Sol, first of all, is a big area. It's a lot of properties for sale. It's a high demand in buyers, and we have more than 150 different nationalities visiting and investing in Costa del Sol. So I would say, yeah, keeping track of the market, and um, following the trends, because speaking to, like, let's put it this way: if I work with a Swedish client, then it's, that feels supernatural for me because of the culture, because of the language, because of, I'm born and raised in Sweden. But like, for example, talking or working with German client, that is also like, where is the German communities, learning that, German schools, do we have options for that, so I think the biggest lesson for me personally is to understand the different nationalities and cultures, and because different nationalities have different approaches, if we put it that way, different culture, you know. But what I need to remind myself is that what we have in common is that we are human beings. So I think that have been my biggest lesson, trying to focusing too much on the nationality of the client and forgetting that what we do have in common is that we're human beings. They have an interest in investing in Costa del Sol, and what is the most important thing for them about their investment, and trying to find that option for them.
And do you work exclusively with a single group, or is it a case of, for now, I imagine for now most of your clients are Swedish just because that's the company, but do you find that you focus on one group and then you have to kind of add other groups, other markets to your basket of knowledge, or is it a case of a client comes in and you have to educate yourself about everything necessary for that client? What's been your
Yeah, I mean,
approach or
it's
experience so
an
far?
international market, definitely. And that is the most interesting part about it as well, because you meet so many different cultures and people, and you get to understand languages, and you get to hear them. I mean, working with a client from Italy, for example, that maybe they bring the whole family with them for a viewing, and then you
Hmm.
heard them, speak Italian to each other. So yeah, um, international market, yes, and of course we work mostly with Swedish and Scandinavian because that is like natural to our brand and company. But no, a lot of different clients, and you just adapt, and you have to be curious about the client and the person, so it's super interesting working with so many different nationalities.
And one of the things, one similar to my previous question about the things that what have you learnt, or what's been some of the most interesting experiences. One of the things you mentioned the first time we spoke was about. Oh, actually, have I got your notes open? I closed the notes. I was going to read your notes back to you. No, okay, I have to do it from memory. You said that transparency was really
Mm.
key to you,
Yeah.
and we spoke a bit about how important it is that people get to know you, and you even mentioned that through social media, things like Instagram, you build a stronger relationship with clients who then later on end up asking you to help you
Mm.
to
Mm.
help them to find a
Mm.
property. So yeah, how have you can you speak a little bit about that? Like, how do you it sounds quite different. I mean, I understand what you're saying because I obviously spend a lot of time working with agents on LinkedIn, but I think in some markets, especially local markets, that more traditional markets, that approach is still that's not the case. So that that's not what people think about in my local hometown about real estate agents. They have a very different opinion, and I won't say it
Mhm.
online. I won't say it now. So how did you yeah how can you speak a little bit about that, about how you've built relationships with clients and how important transparency is with them?
I mean, for me, transparency is key. I mean, investing in a property, I mean, how many times in your lifetime do you do that? For some people, I mean, on an average, maybe they buy one property in their whole lifetime. For some lucky people, they do it twice, one back home in Sweden and one abroad, for example. So, I mean, it's a big decision and it's a lot of money. So, for me, transparency is key. First of all, to help the client, to understand them. If they are not transparent with me, what budget they limits they have, or what's important to them, or if they found something else they are interested in, or I think that communication and transparency is key for building relationships and doing business within real estate, because it's a big decision and a lot of money. And yeah, I don't know if that was answering your question, if I understood it correctly, but like how
You
important
did,
transparency is for me. And you were talking about social media and
You did a pretty good job because I realized as I was speaking, I mixed in two different things into the question. So I'm still getting better. I'm still trying to get better at this whole
Yeah,
asking simple questions. I even told you before we started, didn't I? Just if you just say, you don't have to give long explanations. Sometimes we talk too much when we're on camera.
yeah.
It's the same thing. So what about then social media? How's that helped you with your work and with your career so far?
I mean, social media today is key, because a lot of people, again, I mean, I think it goes hand in hand with transparency and people getting to know me, like you said, because, I mean, you have so many real estate agencies in Costa del Sol, and you have so many real estate agents. Who are you going to pick? I mean, most people pick their agent on the connection that they get, that can I work with this person? Can I put my money in this person's hand to guide me to my dream property, doing a good investment, for example? I mean, it's built on trust, and transparency is key for communicating and building a relationship. And for me, since I've been inspiring a lot of people from Sweden to come visit or try to work and live here, or even moved permanently, it is supernatural for me to speak about these kind of topics. And social media have been a way for me to stay connected with family and friends back home in Sweden. And a lot of my clients are also relatives, or friends of relatives or friends. You understand what I mean? So
Yeah.
within your own network, there are a lot of people getting inspired or dreaming about buying something here in Costa del Sol, or trying out. Maybe they want to rent something in the beginning, and just fill it out and then decide if they're gonna buy something or not. So a lot of my family and friends are also clients. It's pretty natural,
So
I think, because if you know somebody, and you know get a recommendation, or it is pretty safe for that person to initiate the process of buying something here.
okay. So I think I said we'd go for about 45 minutes, and we started a little bit late, but we're at the 47-minute mark. So
We're talking too much on.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it says I haven't been telling you how many people are watching because didn't want to make you any more nervous. But I'll just say it's not a small number. So
Okay,
people are obviously.
how many do we have with us?
I won't say, but there's more people. I won't. I'll tell you off camera because it could the statistics could be wrong, but they're still here.
Okay.
There's quite a few people still here, but no one's leaving comments. Very unusual. But anyway, thank you everyone who's still here. I have a final question for you though. People are still here, so obviously they're not bored yet, Sandra. So
Okay,
I have a
that's
final
good.
question though. I have a
Yeah.
final question that you said so far. I mean, it sounds like when you were going around just enjoying the lifestyle of Spain, that you were also planting all these seeds in people's minds for the future because they've obviously come to you and said, "Oh, Sandra, can you help us to do the same thing?"
Mm.
But and so yeah, it sounds like up until this point you've not been very structured. You've gone with your gut, and that's what works out really well. But moving forward now, as you're in this career, looking ahead, do you have a more structured plan, or is your plan still see where my gut takes me in the next few years? What are your
Yeah,
thoughts about the future?
it's interesting you say, like, I'm more that person who goes with my gut feeling, which is very true about my personality. But I would also add that I'm a pretty structured as a person as well. I mean, just within my team, most of my colleagues, they say I'm super structured. So I think it's a balance between both.
Did you,
Uh,
sorry, just to interrupt. But by structured, do you mean like in the sense of like disciplined? Like you have you don't just wake up every day. Oh, what should I do today? You have a routine and a discipline and a disciplined whatever
yeah,
you do.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, I'm a mix of those, and I think that is what makes me successful, not just within my work position, but like in my private life as well, like training or ambitions, goals, relationship, whatever, because you need to have a plan and you need to focus on something, and that for that you need discipline, because some days I will wake up and not feeling for doing what I have to do, or what I've promised or scheduled to do. And those days it's super important not to go with the gut feeling, and use the structure and the discipline to achieve something and move forward in life. So for me, it's supernatural to use both tools, if we describe them as tools. For me, gut feeling is a tool, and being structured and needing, logically to think out a plan and stick to it, it's two different kind of tools. And for me, it's necessary with both. So yeah, I do have plans, I do have ambitions, which requires a lot of structure and discipline.
But you're gonna keep that to yourself for now.
What were you looking for? Did
Well, my
I miss
question
giving
was
you
my, no. My question was though, what are your do you want to share? You don't have to share. Do you have any goal, like short term or long term goals in the real estate sector in the next few years, or
yeah, I
is it?
mean, yeah, yeah. Now I understand you. Of course, I'm still a rookie in this industry. I'm super grateful for being a part of Skandia Mäklarna. Like I told you earlier, I mean, it's a great company with very, very wide experience, both back home in Sweden and here in Spain. But what stand out the most is our office in Fuengirola, which is our headquarter here in Costa del Sol. We have the district of Marbella and Estepona as well. But the resources and the tools that the company offer you as a real estate agent is truly amazing. I mean, without the company and the team and the resources that they offer, I don't think that I would do as great results that I have done so far in my career being a real estate agent. So my next plan is to improve myself even better within my being a real estate agent, and that is so many different things. That can be getting to know the areas even more, understanding clients need, investment and financing, um, language. I mean, I can improve my Spanish, I can improve my English as well, maybe learn more languages, maybe deepening my Arabic skills and working more with Arabic clients. So yeah, I have goals, and that is to become even better as a person and as a real estate agent. And being a real estate agent is so many different things. Of course, you have the most obvious, helping people sell and buy properties, but working in an international market here, it's so many different other things as well.
So tell me if I've understood correctly, because what I thought was interesting about everything you just said there is all of those broadly relate to self improvement. They're all related on this idea of how can I be better,
Yeah.
how can I improve. Whereas some people, perhaps, if you ask them the question like that, they might. If I had said to them, "What are your career goals? Where do you want to be in 5 years' time?" That's the
Mm,
standard interview question. People would
mm,
often associate their goals with material success, like sell a bigger property, sell more
mm,
property,
mm.
build a new business, or this kind of thing. Whereas you view it more, if I've understood correctly, more as how can I be a better agent and how can I be a better person, and then tie these things together. Would that be a fair? Would that be a
Yeah, to
fair way to
describe the
summarize?
overall, yeah, that is fair. Because I mean, becoming a better person and becoming a better real estate agent would naturally meaning doing more and better
Yeah, the results
sales.
follow. The results follow from that.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, I do have specific goals as well, but that is not interesting for me to share, because those are, guidelines. To come to that point, I need to improve so many other things. So that's why I wanted to highlight the self improvement more than the actual, written goals, let's say in numbers or properties or amount of transactions, because for me it goes hand in hand. But if I'm not willing to, work on my discipline or self-improvement, language skills, area skills, maybe picking up a new sport like golf, for example, is super popular here. We have more than 70 golf courses around the area. A lot of my friends and clients play golf, and for me, I do not play golf. So I've thought about it. Maybe I should try it out and see, is it something for me or not. So learning new things, collecting new experience, and self-improving, I think that is what, in the long term, is what would bring you success.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know, but for me it is my main goal.
Okay, I think that's a great place to end the stream then, Sandra. So do you have anything else you want to say before we finish?
No, thank you so
Okay.
much. It's been a truly experience and a pleasure. Always nice talking to you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Thank you. And thank you everyone who's, as I said, lots of people have stayed all the
Yeah,
way to the end. So that's good. This is that's great to hear. Although it has been quiet in the comment section. Never mind.
yes,
Fantastic,
it
everyone,
is
for coming.
shy.
Yeah, thank you. It just must be shy people. Thank you
Yeah,
very much. I'm going to end the stream. Okay.
thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.